Shanks is one of the most beloved One Piece characters, who has held a special place in the fans' hearts from the very first chapter of the story. It was quite clear from the very beginning that Shanks was an extremely important character, and that he would come into play further as the story progresses. While there was certainly a dearth of Shanks content towards the beginning of One Piece, as fans got closer to the end of the story, Shanks received more pronounced roles. Now that the story is in the final saga, Shanks will receive a major role as he enters the great game for claiming the One Piece. This makes him an active participant and a potential rival for many other characters. From the very beginning, Shanks has been revealed to be an incredibly powerful character. However, with that also come many death flags that he has had on his head for quite a while now. There is a decent chance for Shanks to die in the final saga, and the fans are holding their breath. Shanks' role in One Piece so far. Shanks has played two major roles in One Piece so far, and both of them are intertwined. The very first role that Shanks played was to put Luffy on the path to becoming the Pirate King. This happened at the very beginning of the story when he stole the gum gum fruit from the world government. As soon as he stole it, he was seen setting camp in the East Blue. It was quite clear that Shanks had some plans for this devil fruit, even though he did not want to eat it himself. Perhaps he intended to find the child of Goldie Roger and feed this devil fruit to him. Perhaps he had something else in mind. Regardless of that, the person who ended up eating this devil fruit was none other than Luffy, and given that Shanks had already seen something in him, he entrusted him with his trusty straw hat and asked him to meet him at the very top where he could one day return the hat to him. This is, by far, the biggest role that Shanks has played in One Piece so far. There is also another role that he has consistently played, at least until up to the Wano arc of the story, and that is the role of a peacekeeper. Shanks has consistently tried his very best to avoid conflict and to prevent the era from spiraling into chaos. This was seen in the early parts of the story when he met Whitebeard and asked him to call back Ace, and later, when he entered the Paramount War and attempted to stop it. He was also seen meeting with the Five Elders, warning them about a particularly dangerous pirate, and he was also seen around Wano, preventing Green Bull from causing any harm to the country. It was quite clear for the fans to see that Shanks wanted to maintain peace, that is, until a certain point in the story. Shanks in the final saga. In the final saga, fans were surprised to see the character of Shanks take a very interesting turn. Fans already know that Shanks would be extremely relevant in the final saga, given that Oda had himself mentioned this in the past. According to Oda, when Shanks started to appear in the story frequently, fans could assume that the end of the story was now close. The fact that Shanks has appeared quite a lot, and the final saga already all but confirms the fact that One Piece only goes to reaffirm the fact that One Piece is in the final saga now. However, his appearance is not what is surprising. It is the shift in goals that he has shown recently. Immediately after the fall of two of the four emperors in Kaido and Big Mom, Shanks decided that it was time for him to move for the One Piece. In a conversation with Beckman right outside of Wano, he mentioned that it is time for them to enter the great game and claim the One Piece for themselves. While some of what he said can be lost in translation, it is believed that, in Japanese, the way Shanks refers to claiming the One Piece is much more aggressive than any person in the story has ever done before. This means Shanks is serious about getting his hands on this treasure and giving Luffy a run for his money. The danger Shanks faces. Shanks is one of the strongest pirates in One Piece, and that goes without saying. He is an incredible fighter who is proclaimed to be one of the shining stars in the New World, which is why he is one of the Yonko of the sea currently. Fans have seen his power on several occasions before, and it is quite clear that he can hold his own against the vast majority of the pirates. In fact, he also has quite a decent shout to be the strongest in the entire world right now. With the fall of Kaido and Big Mom, Shanks possesses the highest known bounty on the seas. In fact, even with those two present, Shanks was never actually revealing his true strength. He was biding his time and not going for the One Piece, yet, despite all that, he possessed a tremendous bounty that was incredibly close to these two figures. Had Shanks always been in the game for the One Piece, perhaps he would be the one declared as the strongest. Going for the One Piece also means that Shanks will attract more dangers towards himself. After all, in the great game for the One Piece, Shanks will have many enemies. These enemies start with the world government. Shanks is a member of the Figureland family, and that only means that he is privy to some secrets that should not be out there. perhaps the government itself will make an enemy out of him. However, the biggest enemy that he faces is none other than his old rival, Marshall D. Teach, also known as Blackbeard. Will Shanks die in One Piece? In the final saga, fans will most definitely see the major pirates on the move. In fact, they have already engaged in major battles in the Egghead arc. For instance, Shanks was seen crushing the Kid pirates all by himself, and, at the same time, Blackbeard was seen crushing the Hard pirates by himself. These two characters are major players for the One Piece. Buggy is also a dark horse in the race for the One Piece and might as well claim it in the end. However, fans can rest assured that he is not going to die, as his character simply does not have any death flags. Luffy is the main character, and he certainly cannot die anytime before he becomes the Pirate King and throws a great party at the end of it all. The only main character that can die is Shanks. This death won't come out of the blue either. Shanks has had death flags on him ever since he confronted Blackbeard for the very first time. This meeting left him with 3 scars running across his face, and, to this day, he knows that this scar aches. During the Paramount War, these two pirates almost confronted each other. However, Blackbeard mentioned that it was not time for them to fight just yet. In fact, even in Wano, when Shanks appeared, he was on the lookout for Blackbeard. In Elbaf, when Shanks destroyed Kid, he was about to set out to some place, likely related to Blackbeard as well. Everything that Shanks does concerns Blackbeard because he knows the danger that this person possesses. Fans might not consider Blackbeard to be dangerous at the moment, however, it is quite clear that he's one of the most dangerous people in the entire world. And what better way to showcase that than by killing the beloved red-haired pirate, Shanks. If these two characters end up fighting, Shanks will definitely not win, even if he's stronger. This is simply down to the fact that Blackbeard is an enemy for Luffy to take on, and not Shanks. A confrontation between these two characters is inevitable, and, when that happens, Shanks will either be defeated heavily or potentially even killed off. And in other news, One Piece, Luffy's biggest weaknesses. Over 1,000 chapters and hard-fought battles since he first set out to sea at the start of One Piece, Monkey D. Luffy has grown into a formidable pirate who is acknowledged as an emperor of the sea. The list of foes he has vanquished is quite impressive, with some characters such as Zenesha even referring to him as the second coming of Joy Boy, a mythical figure from the Void Century who is of great importance to the series' storyline. Even with all the power he has amassed, as well as the long list of powerful allies he can call upon to aid him in a time of need, there are still certain aspects of Luffy's character that can be regarded as vulnerabilities open to exploitation by his enemies in One Piece. These can range from his stubbornness and dim-witted tendencies to more serious chinks in his armor, like his inability to swim and weakness to sea stone, gullibility, and simple-mindedness. At his core, Luffy is quite childlike in how he views the world. This manifests in how he sees things in black and white or pursues goals incessantly with little regard for anything else. A trait that is most prominent in how he recruits individuals he likes to his crew. Beyond this, he is also quick to ally with anyone he likes, which might not always be ideal, as it leaves him open to the mercy of untrustworthy individuals. So far, Luffy's judgment has not failed him, as his choice to ally with Trafalgar Law and the Hard Pirates on Punk Hazard proved quite fruitful after Kaido and Doflamingo's defeats, despite his crew's initial concerns. This may not always be the case in the future though. Additionally, Luffy can often be quite slow to process complex information, and can be quite thick-headed at times. He is also exceedingly blunt, and has no filter when speaking with anyone, which can lead him to blurt out important information even in the presence of enemies. Impulsivity and recklessness. In line with his rebellious nature, Luffy can be extremely stubborn, hostile, and downright ruthless towards perceived authority figures, especially the likes of the Marines and the Celestial Dragons. He has openly declared war on the world government, punched a world noble, and constantly claims that he will become king of the pirates in front of everyone. Luffy has little regard for strategy in larger conflicts, and will charge headfirst into the fray without any thought of flying under the radar. Even during the raid on Onigashima, the Ninja Pirate Mink Samurai Alliance was forced to account for the recklessness that Luffy and Kid were prone to, using them as distractions to infiltrate Kaido's fortress. He refused to steal a copy of Big Mom's poneglyph from Whole Cake Island without fighting her, as it was against his principles. At times, he has even gotten into fights over small disputes, or almost blown his cover if not for the intervention of his crew. Physical strain of transformations. From a combat perspective, Luffy has achieved immense levels of power by cleverly channeling his rubber-based abilities into various power-ups and transformations referred to as gears. The common thread here is the physical burden each gear places on his body, leading to serious repercussions. Although he has been able to mitigate the drawbacks of Gear 2 and Gear 3, interchanging between them freely, he still deals with a considerable degree of fatigue with Gear 4 and Gear 5. The automatic deactivation of Gear 4 after it burns out leaves him unable to use Haki for 10 minutes. Moreover, he also struggles to stand or even fight for a time afterward. In spite of this, Luffy has managed to use Gear 4 multiple times in a fight by evading his opponents long enough for his Haki to recharge. With Gear 5, this fatigue becomes even more pronounced, to the point where Luffy seems to physically age after it deactivates. That being said, he can still push past his limits by matching his heartbeat to the drums of liberation, but the consequences will be just as dire as before. As a mythical Zoan awakening, Gear 5 also carries the added risk of Luffy's mind being consumed by Sun God Nika, to the point where he might lose his sense of self. Finally, Luffy's elasticity might also reach a breaking point, where he cannot stretch anymore. But the limits of this will likely be extremely difficult to reach in Gear 5, inability to swim. Just like all other Devil Fruit users, Luffy lost his ability to swim after consuming his Devil Fruit, the Goma Goma no Mi, later revealed to be the legendary mythical Zoan type known as the Hito Hito no Mi model, Nika. As such, he will immediately sink and lose his powers if submerged underwater or thrown into the sea, and is vulnerable to sea stone. Additionally, he will lose all of his powers if he comes into contact with seawater or water from lakes or ponds. This collectively stems from Devil Fruit users being rejected by the sea. As such, even the most powerful combatants are left vulnerable, in a world where the Marines, pirates, and other factions all compete for supremacy over the seas. More recently, Luffy has shown some countermeasures against this, especially in Gear 4 and Gear 5, where he can propel himself in the air for certain periods, even if they are not foolproof solutions. Cutting attacks. From the very start of the series, Luffy displayed an immunity to blunt force attacks due to his elastic constitution, but struggled against cutting attacks for the very same reason. He had a close shave against Dracula Mihawk during the Summit War of Marineford, who would have cut off his arms if not for Luffy's blossoming observation Haki saving him at the time. This weakness was mitigated to some degree with the emergence of his Gear 4 form named Bound Man. Luffy's mastery of Haki also served to guard against cutting attacks by moderately strong opponents. Unfortunately, if confronted by someone who possesses comparable or superior levels of control over their Haki as Luffy himself, the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates will be vulnerable to their attacks, forcing him to evade rather than take them head-on. Even Gear 5 has not mitigated this completely, which is why it will be interesting to see how he deals with it in his final battles throughout One Piece. That's a wrap for this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more amazing videos very soon.